a British racing legend stalking the Italian countryside for slower prey. They used to appear in Italy each spring when they closed the country for a day, opening Italian streets and roads only to fast cars and fearless drivers. It was called the Mille Miglia, a 1,000-mile road race the length and breadth of Italy. For 30 years, it symbolized the Italian passion for fast cars and cutting loose on regular roads. The noble pursuit of Countess Camilla Maggi's late husband and his racing buddies.
They loved it and they wanted to, they hoped always to go on. Instead, it was suddenly stopped in a very bad way.
In 1957, a tire exploded in a rain-slicked turn ringed by spectators. 12 people died, and so did the Mille Miglia. The church quickly joined the government in condemning road racing as a blood sport. The race cars were retired to museums to age like the antiquities of other Italian eras. For 20 years, only children's toys and their grandfather's stories could keep the memory of the Mille Miglia alive. Not until a generation of Italian officials and critics faded away could the Mille Miglia be resurrected, not as a race, but as a rally.
This is the Piazza di Vittoria in Brescia, northern Italy. And the Mille Miglia is back with a vengeance. All kinds of drivers and all kinds of vintage cars are here to test themselves against 1,000 miles of Italian roadway.
Stirling Moss won the Mille Miglia in 1955. He has come back to Italy for its revival. The pilgrimage to Italy now happens every other year, and devotees from every continent with cars have heard the call. One-of-a-kind museum pieces, some worth a cool million, are gassed up to dice again, down the Adriatic coast and across the Apennines. For photographer George Fry and myself, a choice GEO assignment. If not our choice of vehicles, for chasing Ferraris and Bugattis 1,000 miles through Italy for this GEO Special in Europe.
In any Italian, and you can see driving on the road, he thinks to be a pilot of Mille Miglia, because in Italy everybody likes to race also when he drives normally, you know.
The people of Brescia, Italy lost a vital part of their heritage for 2 decades after the Mille Miglia was stopped. The new Mille Miglia marks the triumphant return of the racing natives, like Gino Munaran, once now a brake salesman. He likens it more to rediscovering an old girlfriend than reviving a sporting event.
For me, obviously, it's completely different because I drove 5 times the Mille Miglia, and for us it's a big love, you know, probably the most exciting love of your life, you know.
The expectation of living the myth of the Mille Miglia. That's what draws these classic race cars and their pilots back to Italy. Photographer George Fry and I came here to witness a spectacle that could only happen in Italy. and a flashback to an era when these race cars reigned supreme.
These are God, yeah, there is nothing better. This is the best machine ever built.
John Olds brought his 1927 Bugatti from Australia. It might look quaint, but it's quick enough to do 140 miles per hour. It won more Grand Prix than any other type of car.
Well, it just seems to be the real work of art as well as just being a motor car. These are just something very, very special. There's not enough of them to go around, and those that have them just revere them.
Only the types of cars that raced during the original Mille Miglias, 1927 through 1957, are invited back. 500 called, but only 250 were chosen by Constantino Franchi. It was Franchi and the aptly named Musical Watch Veteran Car Club which finally convinced the Italian government to revive the race as a rally by setting the one rule that everyone seems to break.
It seems to go at only 30 miles per hour. It's not in my
It's not in your blood, huh?
It's not in my blood.
No.
Clay Regazzoni was paralyzed when his Formula One car disintegrated at the Long Beach Grand Prix. He will run the Mille Miglia in a 1950 Lancia. It is modified with hand controls so he can keep up with another world champion, Sterling Moss.
It's a poser's rally, if one's honest about it. I mean, the people want to see the cars. Yes, we put our foot down a bit and the police wave you on, and it's a fantastic event.
Countess Camilla Maggi's great love was to present the flowers to the Mille Miglia pilots and store their cars at her country estate the night before the race. The Italian style and romantic elegance is returned. A rack of vintage English race cars are carefully laid away in the Countess's country wine cellar, as another prince and his racing entourage come calling to her 18th century villa to be bedded down for the night. This time, Prince Michael, the Duke of Kent.
I really don't know well what was the real idea of this party. It's just to meet the evening before the race.
50 years ago, I was first in Mille Miglia. Yes, they had the record of the time.
1936 was Tonino Brivio's year.
Of course, in the original Mille Miglia, the roads were closed during the race time.
This year, Phil Hill, the first American world champion, hopes to take home some Italian silver.
But with the roads open to normal traffic, it makes it much more exciting, much more fun, actually.
The Mille Miglia always begins at night. It basically follows the original course down the Adriatic coast, across the Apennines to Rome, through Tuscany, back to Brescia. No longer a race, it is a 3-day rally with several timed distance events each day to keep it competitive. Even in the dead of night, the course will be outlined by Italians pointing the way at each intersection.
Okay, look at the map, please. Arle Sega.
We're right on the money here.
So was Sterling Moss in 1955 when he averaged 97 miles per hour over 1,000 miles of roads like these.
To me, it was a very frightening event because there were, they say, 5 million spectators, and all of them seem to be in my way, standing on the side of the road. And when you've done that, there is nothing to compare with going through streets where if you make a mistake, you get a shop window or in somebody's lounge, That is pretty exciting.
Day 2 of the new Mille Miglia and San Marino. The checkpoints along the course are as much a flashback in Italian history as the cars.
All right, so I want to cut in a cone?
Yeah, we got to cut.
Can I just go through a cone?
No, let me get out and do it. Let me get out and do it.
A path is cleared through every town by the local Carbonari, many of whom recognize me as a fellow police officer from Hill Street Blues.
Okay, we're on the course now.
That's some of the first direct signage I've seen in this.
Yeah, well, this is the immediate.
Stampa!
Stampa!
Passate su di qua, no?
No,
Non è chiuso lì, non è chiuso.
No, minuto.
Minuto,
Grazie, signor.
He wasn't happy with us.
He must not have recognized me out of uniform. San Marino has been independent from Italy since it was founded in the 4th century. It sits on an Italian mountaintop as the world's smallest republic. San Marino has its own army, its own currency, and its own wine, which is presented to the drivers as they pass through the checkpoint. What it doesn't have are liability laws that would have made it impossible for the Mille Miglia to race up its cobblestone streets and down paths which aren't big enough to be sidewalks where I come from.
I have some problem because after 190 kilometer, the engine is start to lose some.
Clay Regazzoni is still running, but having trouble making the checkpoints on time, like Sterling Moss and Phil Hill already have. As for Gino Munaran, the brake salesman, he's cruising for the coast with the skills he learned years ago while racing for Ferrari.
In the Mille Miglia, you have no one corner exactly the other one. No one is similar to the other one. It's an adventure, if you like.
The adventure will continue to Rome, Florence, and to meet the man, Commendatore Enzo Ferrari. The automobile is a modern-day appliance, stamped with the uniform technology consumers demand. The automobile is a romantic artifact of the industrial age, handcrafted with its own character and imperfections. Both cultures are still embraced in Italy's automotive centers of Torino and Milano, where they make them by the thousands at Alfa Romeo, and one at a time at Zagato, one of several Italian coach builders and design companies where American, British, and Japanese manufacturers often come for their prototypes. Luigi Lavoni has been making cars by hand at Zagato for 35 years. The ones he remembers most were the race cars commissioned for one purpose, to race through Italy in the Mille Miglia. Now that the race is a rally, this Zagato Maserati, piloted by Sterling Moss, is carefully paced through one of the timed distance events before cutting loose through Umbria for Rome.
It is the only place where the people have the passion for cars. I mean, they love cars the world over. I mean, you go to England, people love cars, but here they have this fantastic passion. When they see the cars, they get really excited and emotionally worked up.
Whoever is first from Rome cannot win the race. That's what they used to say in the old days. But today it's really not a race. It's a test of endurance, a test of the driver's skills, and a test of the machinery. It will take them over 3 mountainous passes, the length of Italy, back to Brescia tonight.
I knew nothing about this race when I started. I thought that it sounded very pleasant. I had absolutely no idea what it was going to be like, and I tell you, I've been bitten.
Navigator Deborah Beck never thought her honeymoon tour through Italy would be anything like this. Rome to Florence to Brescia in a single day, and before her wedding. Her fiancé, Bill Harlan, had a previous engagement with his 1953 Allard, a date with the Mille Miglia, and a chance to do what every sports car enthusiast has dreamed of, race on regular roads.
I had a feel for what it would be like as far as the racing part of it, but had no feel for what it's like to be in the middle of real life. A lot of it's well over 100 miles an hour. You do have all the traffic, and most of the traffic, especially the trucks and buses and things, aren't going over 20, 25 miles an hour. And you hope the oncoming traffic will spread wide and spread away so you can get through them, because you really are racing down the center.
Disaster struck our efforts to keep up the Mille Miglia in Siena's medieval maze of streets, and not even an English-speaking policewoman could get us back on the course.
We go left.
All we had to do to find the Siena checkpoint was find one of the most famous piazzas in Italy, the Campo.
Campo. Oh,
Oh, but... I don't understand this Italian driver. Behind. Not me.
Through Tuscany to Florence and north into the automotive heartland of Italy, the procession continues to the holy see of Italian auto racing, the factory town of Modena. For followers of the Black Stallion on a yellow field, this is Ferrariville, and a chance of a lifetime for an audience with the former truck driver who became the godfather of auto racing, Commendatore Enzo Ferrari. Phil Hill once borrowed a car to race in a Grand Prix to prove he was good enough to race for Ferrari.
I learned everything that I knew about racing cars and what to do. And he allowed me to win the World Championship.
From Formula One drivers to weekend racers, Ferrari's undisputed reign over the post-war racing world is recognized by other royalty, like Prince Michael, Duke of Kent.
Oh, I think he's certainly the king of Italian racing cars.
90 kilometers to go, and an unscheduled pit stop threatened our plans to cover the finish. After keeping up for 3 days and 1,000 miles in anything but a Ferrari. As grand a wedding march the Harlands ever dreamed of. As sweet a dash through Europe as Phil Hill remembers from his Grand Prix days. And as great an audience as Dire Straits' Mark Knopfler ever performed before. The Mille Miglia is an Italian sporting extravagance where everyone who shows up with a classic racer wins. The victory lap is 1,000 miles through Italy and a flashback in time.